Hey boys and girls, Miss Sweeney is going to do your comprehension lesson with you today for the Salamander Room by Ann Mazer. The first thing you need to do is get your supplies together. So you need your reading notebook and your pencil. And then you need to go to your next clean page and write today's date at the top, 9-30-20. You can pause the video at this time to get your supplies and write your date and then press play to continue the video. So what we're going to be talking about today is creating a mental image in our head as we read. So what good readers do is they make a picture in their heads to help them understand the story. So for example, as someone is reading a story to me, I'm imagining in my head what is taking place. Now, as you read, it's like a movie. Your image in your head, the picture that you're imagining, is going to change based on what you read. So as the characters begin to do different things, your picture in your head is going to change to the new things that they're doing. So it changes as you listen to the story. So what we're going to do first is Miss Sweeney is going to do some modeling for imagining pictures in your head. So you can put your pencil down and you can just watch right now. So I'm going to read the poem, Two Little Kittens, and it's by Anonymous. That means we don't know who wrote it. Two little kittens one stormy night began to quarrel and then to fight. One had a mouse, the other had none, and that's the way the quarrel begun. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to think in my head, my mental image during stanza 1. So this is the first paragraph, stanza 1. That's kind of what we call poems, stanzas, and it's similar to like a paragraph in a story. So here's stanza 1, and in my head, this is what I'm imagining. I'm imagining like two orange striped kittens are rolling around fighting. Let's continue to stanza 2. I'll have that mouse, said the biggest cat. You'll have that mouse? We'll see about that. I will have that mouse, said the eldest son. You shan't have the mouse, said the little one. Okay, so what am I imagining now? It's kind of changing in my mind. Now I'm imagining that I'm seeing the cats and they're like standing and talking and grabbing the mouse from each other. Let's go on. I told you before 'twas a stormy night when these two little kittens began to fight. The old woman seized her sweeping broom and swept the two kittens right out of the room. All right, so now I'm imagining that I see this old lady and she's sweeping the kittens out while it's thundering and it's lightning outside. Let's continue. The ground was covered with frost and snow, and the two little kittens had nowhere to go. So they laid them down on the mat at the door while the old woman finished sweeping the floor. Okay, so now my picture is changing. Now I see like snow on the ground, and the kittens are outside on the porch laying on like a dirty mat. Let's finish the poem. Then they crept in as quiet as mice, all wet with the snow and as cold as ice. For they found it was better that stormy night to lie down and sleep than to quarrel and fight. So the very last picture I imagine in my head is the two kittens are tiptoeing back inside and they're going to lay down on their beds and go fast asleep. So now it's your turn to help Miss Sweeney. So here's what I need you to do. I need you to pick up your pencil and in your reading notebook, I want you to write the word sight and skip some lines. Write the word smell and skip some lines. Write the word taste and skip some lines. Write the word hear and skip some lines. And then write the word touch and then skip some lines. Pause the video at this time to do that. And then when you're done, I want you to come back and press play. Now, Miss Sweeney is going to read the poem Nature's Way by Heidi Campbell. And what I want you to do is imagine the things that you see, smell, taste, hear, and touch while I'm reading this poem. Upon a nice mid-spring day, let's take a look at nature's way. Breathe the scent of nice fresh air. Feel the breeze within your hair. The grass will poke between your toes. Smell the flowers with your nose. Clouds form shapes within the skies, and light will glisten from your eyes. Hear the buzzing of the bees, climb the tallest willow trees. Look across the meadow way, and you shall see a young deer play. Pick the daisies as they grow, watch a gentle cold stream flow. Know the sounds of water splash, catch its glimmer in a flash. When all together all seems sound, lay yourself upon the ground. Take a moment to inhale and listen to nature tell her tale. Now, if you want to pause the video and go back and read the poem again on your own, you can do that and then write the things you see, smell, taste, hear, and touch from the poem. Now, Miss Sweeney's going to go ahead and go over with you guys some of the things that you should have seen, smell, taste, or hear, touch based on the clue words from the poem. So if you're not ready, pause the video, finish writing down all those 5 sentences from the poem, and then come back when you're ready. So let's start with talking about the things that you might see from this poem. You might see the clouds forming shapes, the light in your eyes from looking in the sky. You might see a deer play. You might see the stream flow or the water glimmer. Now, those might be things that you could see, and also we use those clue words, okay? So like something you would see in the sky would be the clouds, and then your eyes would be glistening from the light. You would watch, so watching the cold stream flow, see a deer play. Those are clue words to help you know things that you might see. Let's talk about the smell. Fresh air, flowers. So I can come back over here, and when I talk about smell, right here I see the clue word breathe. So that's things that you would smell, the fresh air, and then smelling the flowers with your nose. So you're looking for those clue words. What about taste? It didn't really talk about taste in the poem. One of the words that it used down here is take a moment to inhale and listen to nature tell her tale. So that might be something that you kind of just like with your mouth inhale, like the sound, or the smell, which is more of something of the air that go more with the breathing, but inhaling can sometimes go along with taste. Hear. So what are the things that it talked about here? What were some of the clue words that we found when we learned about the things that we would hear? So looking back over here, I can see that it talks about, let's pull this down so we can see better. Here we go. Hear, the bees buzzing. So that might be something right here. Hear the bees buzzing. That's a clue word, so you hear it. Water splashing. Know the sound. So sounds is again something you hear. The water splash. That might be something that you're hearing. And then touch. What may be some of the things that you're touching? And what are the clue words we use to find those? So let's look back over here when it says feel. Feel the breeze within your hair. We might feel the breeze in our hair. It said the grass will poke between your toes. That's something that you can feel, the grass poking your toes. Climb the trees. So down where it talks about climb the tallest willow tree, that's something that you do. You touch the trees. Picking flowers. So pick the daisies as they grow. So when you pick the flowers, that's something that you're touching. Now, what we're going to do is we are going to listen to a reading of the Salamander Room. And as the story is being read to you, I want you to be imagining in your head what is happening. Now, we're going to go ahead and begin this, and then when we're done, we're going to do another comprehension activity with it. So let's go ahead and begin the story, The Salamander Room.
Grammarly helps make your writing. No matter. Room by Ann Mazer. Illustrated by Steve Johnson and Lou Fancher. Brian found a salamander in the woods. It was a little orange salamander that crawled through the dried leaves of the forest floor. The salamander was warm and cozy in the boy's hand.
Come live with me, Brian said.
He took the salamander home. Where will he sleep? His mother asked.
I will make him a salamander bed to sleep in. I will cover him with leaves that are fresh and green, and bring moss that looks like little stars to be a pillow for his head. I will bring crickets to sing him to sleep, and bullfrogs to tell him good night stories.
And when he wakes up, where will he play?
I will carpet my room with shiny wet leaves and water them so he can slide around and play. I will bring tree stumps into my room so he can climb up the bark and sun himself on top. And I will bring boulders that he can creep over.
He will miss his friends in the forest.
I will bring salamander friends to play with him.
They will be hungry. How will you feed them?
I will bring insects to live in my room, and every day I will catch some and feed these salamanders. And I will make little pools of water on top of the boulders so they can drink whenever they are thirsty.
The insects will multiply, and soon there will be bugs and insects everywhere.
I will find birds to eat the extra bugs and insects, and the bullfrogs will eat them too.
Where will the birds and bullfrogs live?
I will bring trees for the birds to roost in, and make ponds for the frogs.
Birds need to fly.
We can lift off the ceiling. They will sail out in the sky, but they will come back to my room when it is time for dinner, because they will know that the biggest, juiciest insects are there.
But the trees, how will they grow?
The rain will come through the open roof, and the sun too. And vines will creep up the walls of my room, and ferns will grow under my bed. There will be big white mushrooms and moss like little stars growing around the tree stumps that the salamanders climb on.
And you, where will you sleep?
I will sleep on a bed under the stars with the moon shining through the green leaves of the trees. Owls will hoot and crickets will sing, and next to me, on the boulder with its head resting on soft moss, the salamander will sleep.
So now that we've had a chance to read The Salamander Room by Ann Mazer again, we're going to talk a little bit about summarizing. And we've been talking about this for a while now. A summary retells the events of the story, but in a much shorter version. We don't tell everything. We just tell the most important parts in order. And I like to use the somebody wanted but so then. You can even hold up your hand and retell a story. Use your thumb, somebody, then your next finger wanted, but your middle finger, so your fourth finger, your ring finger, sometimes it's called, and then your pinky finger then to retell the story in your own words. So what we're going to do is let's watch a little quick video about summaries.
New York. Start by saying who the story is about. That's important and you can't leave it out. Next, tell what they're trying to do. What do they want and how they plan to see it through. But they can't reach their goal right away. Tell what happens that causes a delay. So how do they get what they need? Then what do they do after they succeed? Somebody wants something good, dope them up. 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 something fun. Don't that what? Somebody wanted 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 something. Somebody wanted something fun. Don't that what?
So that was just a fun little video about summarizing to help us to remember what a summary is. So what I want you to do right now is I want you to give me a summary of the Salamander Room. I want you to tell me what the story is about or who the story is about, what they wanted, but what was the problem? So what did they do about it? And then how does the story end? I want you to go ahead and try that now with Miss Sweeney as we get started here on our notebook paper. So let's start with somebody. So first you want to think about who the story is about. So we know the story is about Brian. So we're going to go ahead and start with the sentence, Brian found a salamander. So that's who the story is about. Okay, and what does Brian want? So I want you to think about that. What is it that Brian wants? So Brian wants to bring the salamander home to live with him. All right. Now we're at the but part. We've got the somebody, okay, wanted. We got that part. Now we're at the but part. So, but what? What happens? What's the problem? His mom doesn't think it should live there. So now we have the problem. We have the but part. So what does Brian do? Brian gives her all the ways he can make his room a place for the salamander to live. So now we have the so part. And the final part is the then part. How does the story come to a close? This is where we have to do a little bit of maybe making an inference where the text doesn't really say, but we can imagine what might happen. So we can write, then Brian is allowed to keep the salamander. Like I said, we may not know exactly what happens, but this is maybe a good guess or a good inference to summarizing the story. So we have all the parts of the summary, the who, the somebody, what they want, but what the problem is. So what do they do to solve it? Then how does the story end? So we have our summary now for the Salamander Room. And remember, you can always pause the video if I'm going faster than what you're doing. Now, two things I want to talk back over again. I want to talk back over the prefix dis. It means not. So some examples would be disappeared, not appear or missing. Displeased, maybe not happy. Or disobey means not to obey. So those are some examples of when we use the prefix dis in front of a word. The last thing I want to go over is the suffix ed. That means something that's already happened. So examples might be followed. With the ed on the end of follow means you went behind someone or something. Explained. Ed on the back of explains means you've already told somebody whatever it is that they're asking you about. All right, guys, that wraps up our comprehension lesson today. And now you can go back into Schoology and complete your assignment.